remarks.
Well, thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. I agree with so much of what you just said there in your remarks about the Secretary and her appearance today and the unresponsiveness and illegality of the actions of this department, and really abusing the way that that the department ought to be following the law, because they're not. So thanks so much for your strong statement, Mr. Chairman. I thank you for holding today's hearings and to have the Secretary here, because the Department of Interior has a profound impact on the people of my home state of Wyoming. And that's because almost half of the land in Wyoming is owned by the federal government. Nearly 70% of the minerals under that land is owned by the federal government. And the Secretary's decisions affect people's livelihoods, affect people's family budgets, and even the quality of public education in our state. And that's why I find Secretary Haaland's record so troubling. Yesterday, just yesterday, during a congressional hearing in the House of Representatives, Wyoming Representative Harriet Hageman asked the Secretary if she had, quote, had heard of the Rock Springs Resource Management Plan. The Secretary testified, no. Well, the people of Wyoming know what it is. It is this department's disastrous proposal to block access to 3.7 million acres of public lands in southwest Wyoming. It would severely restrict energy and mineral development, restrict grazing, and restrict recreation activities on those lands. It would affect nearly a quarter of the state's population. These lands are the economic lifeblood of local communities. They supply jobs. They provide tax dollars. They keep hospitals open. They fund our public schools. Thousands of people in Wyoming have written to the department opposing this fiasco. The Secretary testified yesterday she never heard of it. The governor, the state legislator, county commissioners, local communities all strongly opposed this plan coming out of this Department of Interior. And it's deeply troubling that Secretary Haaland, as of yesterday, was not even aware of one of her department's major actions affecting my state. What's even more disturbing is how many of Secretary Haaland's decisions are lawless. Take, for example, her refusal to follow the Mineral Leasing Act. The act requires the Secretary to hold quarterly lease sales in each state with oil and gas resources. That's one lease sale in each state with oil and gas every 3 months. Yet during the first 3 quarters of Secretary Haaland, the first 10 quarters of Secretary Haaland's tenure, she held only 2 lease sales. Since then, the department has had 3 more. But the Secretary has made no effort whatsoever to reinstate the 8 missing lease sales. And we're now starting to see the damage in store for us. So from fiscal years 2001 through 2021, the department leased an average of over 2.3 million acres each year. 2022, 2023, under Secretary Haaland, the department leased an average of 83,000 acres per year. From 2.3 million to 83,000, that's a 96% drop in the amount of acreage leased. Likewise, fiscal years 2001 to 2021, department issued an average of 2,000 leases a year. The last 2 years of the department, 132. Again, a 93% drop in the number of leases issued. Let's just compare President Biden to President Obama. There has been a 93% drop in the amount of acreage leased, 90% drop in the number of lease issues between Obama and Biden. Obama and Biden. This is a horrible record, Mr. Chairman, undermining the economy of the United States. What's it all mean? Well, first it means that today's oil and gas production has nothing to do with President Biden. It means that oil and gas production on federal lands that's happening today has nothing to do with Biden. It is headed for a fall. It means that if Secretary Haaland's decisions are allowed to stand, the people of the West are going to suffer in the years to come. The Secretary's lawless actions are not just limited to her failure to follow the Mineral Leasing Act. She has also failed to follow a host of other laws. Last month was a good example. Within the span of 2 days, Secretary Haaland issued 3 decisions that have made a mockery of Congress and the law. First, the Secretary issued the so-called public lands rule. This rule turns the multiple use mandate, which has been a decades-old bedrock principle of federal land management, turned it on its head. It equates the non-use of land with productive use of the land. It's going to allow activists to stop grazing, to stop energy and mineral production, to stop timber harvesting, and to stop recreation on the very lands where Congress directed these activities to take place. One day later, the Secretary prohibited oil and natural gas production in the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. This is an area that Congress has established with the express purpose of producing oil. That's why it's called the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. Right there in the name. This area is central to our nation's long-term energy security, and the Secretary is locking up half of it. Then the Secretary announced plans to block access to the Ambler Mining District. This is a large mineral deposit on the state and native lands in Alaska. It is a rich source of copper, as you talked about, Mr. Chairman, cobalt, zinc, other minerals. Federal law guarantees access to these lands, yet this Secretary is doing what she wants in spite of the law. She's doing what she wants in spite of the fact that President Biden is driving up demand for these very same minerals. Mr. Chairman, the American people deserve much better than we're getting from this Secretary and from this administration. They deserve leaders who will uphold and honor the laws enacted by Congress, not take every opportunity to subvert them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Madam